You know, reporters are starting to ask questions. Granted, there's a lot going on these days, but they were asking questions because there was, for example, that Hunter text. I mean, there's been a couple of them. One in which he tries to shake down a Chinese energy company executive saying, hey, I'm sitting here with my dad and you better pay up or else. And then there was that other time he was telling his daughter, hey, at least you're not going to have to pay part of your income to Pops like I did for all these years. Anyway, Karine Jean-Pierre, she was asked months ago. She refused to answer these questions about Hunter's text, which really is kind of perplexing. I mean, I know she doesn't want to go there, but like, you have to answer these questions.
Can I follow up on that?
Okay. No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Curly wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask where the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share. I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't. Yes or no? Was the president involved in the shakedown attempt?
Stephen, I just answered the question. It's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So as it turned out, her colleagues at the White House hadn't actually answered the question. So the reporters got kind of annoyed. And the next day they went back again and she punts. And that's what she keeps doing, except those times that she sort of totally steps in it. Anyway, one of the other things that keeps coming up is whether or not actually, there is still access that might be for sale. Because listen, if Joe Biden and his son, had a deal before, is it possible that there's kind of a deal now? And reporters are starting to ask that question. In particular, here's one journalist asking Karine Jean-Pierre about somebody who was spending a lot of time at the White House, who allegedly had given a very large gift somehow to the Democrat Party and also had bought some of Hunter Biden's finger painting. I saw one of you laughing about that. Yeah, that did not go unnoticed. Finger painting, I don't know. Maybe he's an artist, whatever. It's kind of an interesting career choice to just start up all of a sudden. Anyway, this particular real estate investor somehow then landed a kind of posh gig protecting America's image overseas. And so naturally, reporters were asking about it. And here's KJP, her response when they're like, hey, is there any conflict of interest?
Elizabeth Naftali. She's made more than a dozen visits here to the White House and met with some of the president's most senior advisors. Can you tell us a little bit more about those visits, why she was here?
I would have to look into that. I've not been tracking these visits that you're mentioning to me.
Thank you, Karine.
Anyway, that was a situation where that reporter was asking why it was that somebody had been making so many visits after having made some donations and bought some art, allegedly trying to draw some kind of connection. Dare we even go there, right? Anyway, I think there's a lot of things that need to be answered. On top of it, Ukraine has been quite costly for us here in the U.S., and so people are questioning that as well in terms of the money that's being spent, the fraud that has happened over there, right? Like that's been well documented. And they've actually, the U.S. has had to help Ukraine push out various heads of defense because the last couple heads of defense, along with their deputies, have been like siphoning off money to go to Dubai. So yeah, I mean, the American taxpayers don't deserve that. We deserve some transparency. And I think that it's high time. It's high time that we start to really demand it. And this is going to move forward. I do think that you're going to be looking at a president who most likely will be impeached. It's going to happen.